this amount of effort and willingness is needed for our, progress. So we all agree. So my question is that what happens to let's say a liberated soul after death when there is no effort or willingness? How does it, evolve further? Is it like an automatic process after that, or what?
So it is not. I mean, willingness is of the mind. I mean, here, the mind, we are not referring to a physical brain. So, so what happens is, I mean, when we say, liberated is just a first step, but there are many levels after that, right? So it has to exercise the same willingness and cooperation. It has to work on it to, reach much higher levels. So the same consciousness is there, the mind is there, except that, it has less baggage. So it has to continue to work on this growth. And not only that, then we can also say that there's an interesting book. Let me recall the title of the book. This is from a family in Mumbai, in India. They had, the father and mother, they had two sons, young age, 25, 27 years old. Both the sons died in an accident. And what happened a year later or a couple of years later, these parents were contacted by a person who, there are a lot of people you see in even in the Western countries who are, they're called as communicators. They communicate with the departed souls, right? So this person approached them and says here, both sons were trying to communicate to you. And they want me to teach you how to communicate with them. So they get trained mentally. And now the communication starts between the parents and their two sons. And these two sons were explaining the life after death. Very interesting things over there, I mean, in that conversation. And what they're saying is that at every dimension, so there are several dimensions, there are several souls existing, like just like how we are existing in an earthly dimension, except that we have the body and it's a lower consciousness. They too have the spiritual masters at every dimension, working for their evolution from that dimension to the next dimension. And it goes on at every level. Very interesting. Let me see, I must have it on my Kindle. Give me a second, I can give you the title of the book. So, yeah, I mean, that's how life goes on, right? Let me get the book's title. It's been a while. The laws of the spirit world. Let me put it on my screen share.
Don't worry about it. I'll ask you later.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, this is a discussion, right? I mean, it's not something I'm doing the. So if you see on my screen share, this is the one, the laws of the spirit world. Very, interesting read. This is how this is the book cover. So that means, So that basically indicates the life is a continuous thing. A death is only a transitory, like I mentioned, right? So I mean, all these discoveries, I mean, there are many parts of the world, they have different experiences, different stories, which all, if I have to kind of put together and try to understand, it only says that there is life after death, and it's all continuous. And then coming to the heartfulness practices, if you see, there are communications from Babaji, until last year, since 1990 till until last year after he passed away, to one lady in trance. Uh, and Daji calls her as mother. And she received so many messages from Babaji almost every day, every alternate day. And those are all documented as a
Yeah.
book called Whispers from the Brighter World. Right? There are several volumes, 5 volumes. Very interesting messages. I mean, there are so many interesting messages and prophecies, and uh, very heart touching messages, a lot of knowledge, information they give. I mean, and there's also like, the Babuji mentioning in some of the messages where um, the saints from another dimension were communicating to her as well, or there was a mention of it. So all this put together as an information, it kind of tells that there is life even after death. That is never ending. All right. Okay, so let's get to the topic of the day. So let's do some recap from what we learned in few sessions. Um, the March to Freedom is a title,
Hey,
on the,
Shrikant.
yeah, Raj.
Yes, sorry. Do you know what the password is? I could not get it from the link you have. It is a hash. Do you know it?
But you're already in here, right, on the Zoom session?
No, no. I want to move to a different. I'm in the Zoom session, but I want to move to a different device. So that's why I was asking.
Oh, okay. Let me give you the password. Even I don't remember. I have to look into it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you there.
No, that's fine. 216967.
216.
967.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who's that? Oops.
But if you click on the link, it should directly take you to the meeting without any password.
Okay.
All right.
Got to update it.
Sorry. All right. So in our last session, we did talk about koshas, or the sheets, or the layers, where the consciousness or the life is trapped into. And all these layers, every layer has its own significance, and every layer kind of gives us an idea how the spectrum of consciousness varies from one level to another level. And the Anandamaya Kosha, or the bliss sheath, being very closer to the, sorry, it's my, let me turn off the notification so that you don't hear that noise. So different koshas, how they are, the spectrum of consciousness is, spread all over across the many layers. Uh, there are some more people who wants to join and cannot find the Zoom link. The bliss sheath being the closest to the causal, I mean, it's at the state of causal level, is where the real, what do you call, the experience of the soul comes in contact with the mind. And the nature of the soul is always bliss, happiness, joy, unconditional bliss, what we say, right? And before we move forward, any questions or anything anyone wants to share on this idea or the concept of the koshas?
So I again had just one thought here, Shrikant Bhai. One is about you yourself, your personal journey, and then the others is about people you are associated with, whether it's family, friends, and all of that. Now, a lot of this is very subjective, depending on what each individual chooses for himself. And one could be in a state of bliss, while another from the circle that I just spoke about could be in different stages. Now, so what should the journey of the person in the blissful state be of helping others come up to that state again, or should it be that each person just chooses for themselves, right, in a way? So I mean, I'm just kind of curious to know if there's any progression of from a soul perspective, because a lot of these are your own associations. So are you responsible for their journeys also in a way?
Yeah. So here the help, we kind of always see that as a help, but it's mostly I see that as a guidance. And there's only how much ever this guidance is there, but we must be cooperating with this guidance. Cooperating, again, as I said, it's working together. I have to play my role, and the person who is guiding me has to play their role. So the better role we both play, it comes together and adds to our progress. So it is not the choice of a one person. There is no like pulling you up. There's no automation here. One has to work towards it. And the more we work towards it, and the help comes. Like Chariji used to always give this example, right? If there is an accident on the road, if the person is lying dead, I don't think nobody will come and lift him up. They'll call for the ambulance and they'll call for the police. No one touches the person. But if the person appears to be moving and trying to get up, there'll be 10 people come and hold you. So it's all about whether I am making an attempt or not. So that choice, at least I need to make for myself, for my own progress. So, I mean, there are challenges. Each individual person's challenges are different. Each individual is pulled down in many ways, right? Maybe I'm financially well off. Maybe I'm like very healthy. but it doesn't matter. I have my own things to pull me down. And some person bogged down with health issues, family issues, maybe, but suddenly you will find that person emerging right. His problems are bigger, but he's emerging out of it. So it all depends on person to person. It all depends on how each person executes and makes their choices, and each person has a different will to apply. And then always this general question comes up: how do I increase my willpower? There's nothing called increasing the willpower. It's all about, if I determine, okay, this should happen, then if I can make it happen, it will happen. Otherwise, it won't. There are a lot of times we make a will, oh, I wish this happens to me. And we expect something, some miracle should take over and make it happen. Always. But if I make a will and determination that it should happen and it will happen, and I'll stick to my plan no matter what, it will happen. And most of the successful people in their own fields, they were able to stick to that plan. And most of the people, and almost 98% of the population, they're just played by the ear. Played by the ear. I mean, that means wherever the wind takes. And you cannot predict where the wind can take you, correct? So it's a matter of choice, making a choice and sticking to it.
Thanks, Srikanth.
All right. So the next we discussed about the three bodies: the physical body, subtle body, or the pranic body, we say, or the sukshma sharir in Hindi, and the causal body. I mean, again, whenever we say a body or a sheath is a covering. Causal body is a sheath or the covering around the soul. You cannot say causal body is the soul. And all our work as a spiritual practice, where it's taking place is in the sphere of the subtle body. And the more we emerge out of subtle body as it expands, what we get into is a state of a mind region, from a physical region to a mind region, from a mind region to the super cosmic region, and then so we're going to discuss all the regions today. So that'll be the topic of the day. And again, on the concept of physical body, subtle body, causal body, please let me know if you have any questions. We can quickly talk about it and move to the next topic. I mean, I'm kind of doing this as a recap so that we get into a totally different topic. All right. So then briefly we touched upon this in our last session. So there are mainly 7 chakras. This chakras concept is coming from mainly it is developed and mainly practiced, mostly in an occult practices in the past. So there are many paths which came into existence as part of this spiritual practices or yogic practices, what we call. And they kind of identified these energy centers, what they call chakras. There are different definitions I have read on this. What is a chakra? Um, some define it as an intersection between the physical and the causal body. Sorry, the intersection between the subtle and the causal body. That's where it forms a knot, an energy center, where the life energy force is moving, and it creates a knot, and where the energy become concentrated. And that's how a chakra is defined. And there are mainly, like, there are 3 lower chakras, as you see in the diagram, and 4 upper ones. So from the top, if I have to read the names of these chakras, there is something called Sahasrara. Sahasra means 1,000. In the counting in Sanskrit or Hindi, the counting from 1 to 1,000, when it comes to 1,000, you say Sahasra. And Sahasra Dala Kamal means lotus. So it appears as if it's a 1,000-petal lotus. I'm not getting deep into the topic of each chakra, because it kind of takes, deviates from the actual discussion we are doing today. And then there is a third eye chakra, which is between the, the eyebrows. It is also known as Agna chakra. And typically, we did talk about certain, some of the yogic systems do some breathing exercises. So these breathing exercises have to be done with a lot of caution. That's why they need to be, a physical trainer need to be available next to you to train how exactly one should breathe in and breathe out. When you breathe in, typically it stimulates the Agna chakra. So when you force the breathe in like this, that air force is touching the Agna chakra, it stimulates. So any stimulation of the chakra over a long periods is detrimental to the because all these chakras some way is connected to the nervous system, the points. It forces more excess energy through the nervous systems, which it cannot handle. So it's physically damaging if we don't play with these chakras right. And Vishuddhi chakra is also known as the throat chakra. It is of the color blue. And typically, for treating some thyroid problems and all, they stimulate this chakra so that it can affect the thyroid gland and the thyroid problems can be solved. And Anahata chakra is known as heart chakra. Many times there is a confusion in our heartfulness meditation. Are we meditating on the Anahata chakra, and is it the right thing to do, and things like that? Some of the the yogic gurus who are into occult practices, they say one should not meditate on the Anahata chakra. That means heart chakra. See, again, there's always is half knowledge, half information, somewhat true, but not completely true, right? Like this, when this COVID came, if you open the YouTube channels, your WhatsApp channels, wherever, everyone is a doctor. Everyone prescribes something. Whether it's doctors, actors, presidents, everyone has a prescription. But who is right? It's all half knowledge or no knowledge at all, just based on some simple beliefs. people recommend different things, right? So this Anahata chakra or the heart chakra, we're going to discuss more on this, not as a chakra, but it's a field of restlessness. It's a field of all the moments. It's the field where we are interacting with the world. If you simply stimulate any chakra, is like I mentioned, there are certain dangers associated with it. But in our heartfulness meditation system, we don't touch on any of these chakras at all. If at all, if the touch needs required, it is always done by the master or the trainers, not as a stimulation, but as a process of cleaning and cleansing and moving the energy flow smoothly. And that's why we don't recommend meditating on any chakras at all, not to stimulate them in any which way. And Manipura as a novel chakra, Swadhisthana as a scholar chakra. I mean, like you can sacral chakra and then root chakra, Mooladhara. Moolam in Sanskrit, Moola means a root, the basic, primordial. So the root chakra is at the bottom, associated with Kundalini and all that stuff. So this is a quick rundown of the chakras. All the animals, all the species will also have, depending on at what point of their evolution is, these chakras are aligned differently, and the number of chakras will vary between from animal to animal. And these are real. These are not imaginary points. All right, moving. Any questions on this?
So Shrikant, yes, this is Sandhya. I have a question. So in our meditation, like when we say focus our attention to the heart, so we are not, I mean, how do we know that are we focusing our attention to the heart chakra or generally the heart area? I mean, how does that differ?
Good question. So when we meditate on the heart, we are always, we are not meditating on any points along the spinal cord. All these chakras are on the spinal cord. And what we are meditating on the heart, on the frontal side. And we are not meditating on a point, we are meditating on the area, region.
Okay.
So that way we are not stimulating any chakras.
Mm-hmm. And the point A, point B, I mean, that cleaning, when we do that, that is, I mean, these chakras are only on the spine, right? Those point systems are also condensed energies, right?
Those point systems or the frontal points are not directly associated with the nervous system or the spinal cord. That's why we don't see all the side effects which people kind of go through who are stimulating the chakras or meditating on the chakras.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So
And, any meditation on the chakras, I'll tell you, I mean, more damage happens than help. And the longer we are doing, I mean, these damages are irreversible.
So what is the significance of these chakras in the spiritual evolution? And do they play a role, like when we talk about points and reaching different points and different spectrums, do chakras have a role to play in that?
So there is the whole idea is either the energy is coming down and getting exhausted, and this same flow, when we move it upwards and reach the, the higher points, then we'll have the glimpse of this, what we call the reality. So, like I said, some of these emerge from the occult systems, all these chakras, right? When you're moving against the energy flow on the chakras, you're causing certain disturbance. Whereas if I take it through the frontal points and move upwards, then you are not going against the flow. You have kind of carved out a new path. So that's why, we sort of take it through the frontal points, which are these. And Babuji termed these points as knots. And rather than calling the chakras, if it makes it very clear if we call them knots. The first point or knot or a point makes more sense than calling it as a chakra.
So then are these points in direct correlation with some of the chakras, which in a way are being managed by the master as you kind of meditate, or they're totally two different things? And then the last thing is, if you reach that stage of bliss, does that mean it is the Sahasrara thing that you've kind of activated at that time, or totally different?
Okay. So number one, there is no correlation between the chakras and the points. And number two, we don't activate these points. What we do is, if there's a knot, there's a knot, right? We just make it smooth. The knot is flattened. So the energy flow is smooth. There's no obstruction. And at the same time, we clean, the flow becomes smooth. We don't activate anything. It's just a way of, it's almost like dissolving all these centers so that it becomes smooth. So here in our terminology, it's a dissolving a point. We don't activate a point. So the energy becomes smoother and smoother flow. And as the flow becomes smooth, then, you're moving from one point to another. And as we master, as these points are dissolved, then we are approaching higher. So that's why I recommend, to get a good understanding, read complete works of Ramchandra, Volume 1. And on this, this very nice explanation is given by Babuji, and on each point. And you can also look into this Heartfulness magazine, The March to Freedom, where Daji very nicely explained all these points, what happens, what is the color of the points. And I mean, of course, the presentation you are seeing is the notes from this magazine. And
Yes, so I had a discussion with so one of my music teacher is actually a spiritual person in Sahaj Yoga, which basically is all about the Kundalini and the process that they go through. He was he was basically referring, when I spoke to him, no, we have something called as a point system, and we don't really have to do much except for meditate on the heart region, and everything else is taken care of by the pranahuti and masters this thing. So from his perspective, he was saying, no, even if you look at the Raja Yoga system and what was practiced by by the older rishis and others. It was basically the energy elevation of different chakras. So, anyways, there were just different points of views. I was just wondering if you have any comments, because according to him, the main thing of yoga was elevating these chakras, and then finally the ultimate culmination from Sahasrara to the cosmic energy or whatever.
Yeah. So, like I said, it is not by all saints who meditated did that practice. Number one. Number two, any Kundalini stimulation at the being the Muladhara, the root chakra, the moment one activates it, there is a lot of energy released from all the way from the bottom of the spinal cord all the way to the top, and it damages, burns out the entire nervous system. One becomes a vegetable almost instantly, and all that it is doing is activating the Kundalini is gaining the control over the cosmos, which we achieve by crossing all 5 points. But we are not, unless we gain the control over it, we don't really control anything. It's all about regulation. So that's why, it is, we don't treat anything as a power accumulation. It's all regulation. Whereas the main goal of meditating on these chakras is to gain certain powers and use them. We don't do that. That's why yogic, systems, became very controversial with, the people who were what they call so-called practicing knowledge, jnana, or the Advaitic systems. They don't like any meditation yogic practices because they say, oh, it is nothing to do with the attaining the higher knowledge. It is only to do with the powers, which I agree. But heartfulness system is not about accumulating, achieving some powers. It's all regulation and realizing the real knowledge of the essence by coming in touch with it. So we don't really get into any stimulation of the chakras because it's all to do with the energies and they are damaging.
Okay, thanks.
And I can give you n number of examples if you call me. And what are the what happened to the people who practice Kundalini. All right, getting back to the topic. So these are the frontal points. And you can also see the colors in the picture. If you look closely, they're visible. The first point, yellow in color. Second point, red in color. 3, 4, and 5. So today we'll discuss the points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll touch upon briefly on the other points, and then we'll continue that in our next session. So it is called heart region. In Sanskrit, it is called Pinda. Pinda means something to do with the earthly existence. And the point number 1, if you see on the table, the color is yellow and the dominant element is earth. And it so what is the quality of the earth? I mean, in a general sense, right? In a general sense, anything goes, anything and everything goes with earth. That's why it is a symbol of tolerance. It's a symbol of acceptance. And it's a symbol of non-judgmental, being non-judgmental. It is a symbol of being non-discriminative. That's why Earth accepts everything. Earth accepts criminals, Earth accepts saints, Earth accepts normal beings, everyone, every species. So that is why Earth is a symbol of acceptance and tolerance. And I like the good, beautiful explanation on this point given by Daji. Let me put it out here, and let me read it. Let's read it from this. It's an article on Heartfulness magazine. You can read it. Just search on March to Freedom by Daji. You can read this article. So on this journey through the heart region at Chakra 1, we learn to work with our likes and dislikes, with pull of our desires, including worldly worries, greed and jealousy, resentment and self-pity, sensuality and lust, guilty and shame. When we master these emotions as a resulting of purifying and traversing Chakra 1, a natural feeling of contentment and lightness develops. The beautiful thing about the earth element at Chakra 1 is that it supports and allows everything. It is utterly accepting without judgment. For instance, the earth will allow a murder to take place, and when it does, there's no earthquake. The earth does not swallow up the murderer. We talk on Mother Earth, and she tolerates over our weight. We can create a beautiful garden or burn the garden, and all witnessed by the earth. She tolerates us, she accepts us. She's like a mother to us. So, when a person develops this quality at its pinnacle, that person becomes a mother, becoming so loving and accepting of everything. So, when the mastery over this point is developed, what happens is we become very accepting everything, all the situations, all the worries, all the troubles, all the goodness. Even goodness need to be accepted, otherwise it doesn't stay with us. You know, we wonder why we don't accept goodness, but it's very hard to accept goodness also. It's not easy. Our tendencies always pull us away to the other side. So when we talk about these points, there is also a complementing point to balance it. All we are talking about is striking this balance. See here, there is no mention of power or anything. It's all about how do we balance all our emotions, all our, jealousies and, worries, greed, guilt. How do we balance it out? That's why, it is very fascinating to learn this point A and point B and how it affects all the way to the higher regions. We're going to discuss, either today or tomorrow, depending on how much, tomorrow means next session, and depending on how much time permits us to go through. So then go through the chakra 2 is known as the spiritual heart. If on the left side we talk about the physical heart and the right side we talk about the spiritual heart. And Babaji calls this as a Jesus point. I mean, all the noble qualities of the Jesus are, possible at this point. That's why he called it as a Jesus point. Chakra 2 is the spiritual heart. In Chakra 2, we experience the feeling of peace, lightness, stillness, and the bliss of the soul. So the glimpse of the soul, in fact, starts from this point too. And, when one reaches the zenith of the compassion, at first it is difficult to integrate this experience with daily life, as feelings are enticing that all we want to do is meditate and stay in that state of peace. One side, there is an immense calmness and peace. On the other side, very subtle level of yearning to go move onwards, inwards. Gradually, as we journey through Chakra 2, the balance Chakra 1 and 2, we learn to be both grounded in the earthly plane, soar in space. So that's why this point 2 is called as the ether element. Like we were talking about 5 basic elements, right? Earth, ether, fire, water, and air. So this creates our base for moving onwards to the upper chakras. So that's why we say that spiritual journey or the yatra begins from point 2. So it is important in our spiritual journey to at least to right away to get to point 2 so that I can start on march forward on this journey. The sooner I move to point 2 and the journey begins. We can say the yatra begins. And it's once we start a sincere practice, this happens almost in few weeks time. We are not talking about years or months. So I want to make a proposal to everyone who is on this call. Let's make a will or determination that starting today, for next 4 weeks, we will do a regular practice. We'll practice all the 3 elements, that is meditation, cleaning, and prayer. And we'll also add 3 more elements, which is point A, meditation before bedtime prayer, and point B, cleaning before morning meditation. And the 6th element is the universal prayer we do at 9 p.m. So let's try to do this for next 1 month. And whoever wants to participate in this, please send a message to me so that we can do regular one-on-one sessions, a weekly one-on-one session. And we will see at the end of 30 days how we feel. Please maintain a journal and let's participate. I mean, let's make a will that we'll do it, all these elements every day, and take one-on-one sessions. And my mobile number, please send it to me if you want to participate. We'll do one-on-one sessions. And let's see. Right, so this is chakra 2. Getting there, it kind of forms a base for onward journey. And moving to chakra 3, right? So on chakra 2, what did we learn? It's a space or ether element. The color of the chakra is red. This point is red. We experience the feeling of feelings of peace, lightness, stillness, and bliss of the soul. Compassion reaches its zenith. On one side, there is immense calmness and peace. On the other side, very subtle level of yawning. So it also starts that yawning, that craving to move inwards, kind of starts from point two. So for me to make this move inward journey, this is my first step to reach point two from point one. Then moving to point three. So this being a fire element, and this has no color, it is shown as white. So what is the fire? The basic characteristic of the fire, right? You will never see a fire moving downwards. Even if you hold the matchstick downwards, the fire is showing upwards. I mean, the science can explain it, why it is, right? But as a general idea, so it's an upward energy. It's a surging of the surge of the energy or the force. The typical characteristics, I mean, which develop here is the love and anger. Here, love, which should not be mistaken as interpersonal, the affection or attachment between two persons. Let's take this as a concept of pure love as an emotion and anger as an emotion. And Dali always says, even we must use anger for our spiritual growth. At this point, this knot explains that concept very well. Let's read what Daji says. It's very enlightening to me when I read this. I never understood how anger can be used. Okay. So fire purifies. When you see gold ore heated up, it is purified to produce gold. If you heat ice, what happens? It melts, it becomes water, which then becomes steam, a powerful engine to move the locomotive engines, the steam engines we all know, right? Let's focus on the two principles of fire, purifying and melting. Even if you see all the Indian rituals, fire becomes a key element. They say to perform the yajna or the rituals or the penance, it's always fire becomes very symbolic. A symbol for purifying everything. So fire has another quality. Like I mentioned, it moves upwards. So when we talk of ascension, we are always talk of divinity. Love connects us with our source and with the guide who is leading us to our source. And so love facilitates our march to freedom. At Chakra 3, we learn to use love and anger so that both are transformative, guiding emotions for the onward journey. Anger in its pure form also for our benefit, as it alerts us to the fact that something is wrong. As we feel the inner friction, we know something needs refining. It's kind of an indicator. Anger is an indicator. When I always say, what is the root cause for anger? Root cause for anger is failure to do something. Always a failure results in an anger. Suppose a mother is angry with the child. I mean, when does mother gets angry? Mother gives an advice, a suggestion. Come, my son, breakfast is ready. Come, please have your breakfast, and the son refuses to have the sorry, have the breakfast, and mother has to show her anger, because I mean, then mother could not make the son eat breakfast because the school bus is almost there, and this kid has to finish the breakfast, and the mother has to get ready to the work, all these things, right? So it results in an anger. So anger is a result of failure to overcome a situation, or to fulfill a situation, or fulfill a demand. So anger is an indication that something is going wrong. So at this chakra, the purifying effect of fire helps us to transform so that we evoke love in others. What is being transformed in us? The worst in us is being transformed. Things like hatred, it is transformed into love. And that's what helps us to ascend. Fire helps us to melt our heart. Here, true devotion develops and true love develops. So, according to Babaji, when he says heart, he is not just referring to the physical heart. His definition of heart is head to toe. Head to toe is encompassed, it's all heart region. So when anger, love are directed elsewhere, when their focus is outwards towards other people and things, those two emotions can drag us into entanglements and complexities. So, but it is important to keep the field of consciousness clear and pure, as opposed to muddying it with the turbulence of emotions. Hence, to refresh and rejuvenate, the field of consciousness is to purify the subtle body and on a daily basis. So cleaning helps. But if you see here, on point 1, we deal with the worldly emotions, worldly things and everything. And point 2 is exactly opposite. It is going inwards. It is bringing certain calmness, peace. Again, if you see the point 3 being a fire element, there is some emotional disturbance over there. And when we move to point 4, again, there is peace. These opposite effects. So the point 1 is balanced by point 2. Point 3, the fire element is balanced by the water element. So what do you do to put the fire off? You pour water on it, right? So then the fourth element which comes into the picture is water. That is the fourth point. And this color of this point is black. The intensity of the love is reduced considerably. What it means is, so everything and anything here in terms of spirituality, everything has to be refined. It's all called refinement. Whenever we are saying reduce, it's a refining of something. Strength develops from within. So fire is a symbol of courage and confidence. Sorry, the water is a symbol of courage and confidence. That means we master our fears here. But how many of you think here fear is bad? Fear is bad as well as good. So anything, everything you find, any emotion you find in a human system is for our own good, is for our own protection. Fear is an element which protects us from many things. At the same time, fear doesn't allow us to overcome certain things. But when we come to this chakra, most of the fears drop. It gives us courage. It gives us confidence. By the time we reach this point, these two elements grow in us significantly. Now we are ready to face any fears. So going to the fourth element, water. So strength develops from within as love flows deeper, and this manifests at chakra 4 as courage and confidence in everything that we do. Courage is a very very beneficial when a healthy level of humility and concern for others is present. But when it is reckless and ego driven, it can be destructive. So at chakra 4, we also experience and learn to master our fear. Right? So that is chakra 4. Now chakra 5, it is located in the throat. Many times, I hear very conflicting answers. This chakra 5 is same as the throat chakra we saw in the 7 chakras. Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. But if you look at it this way, that this chakra, the qualities, the color is green. Whereas, what is the color of this chakra? Vishuddhi chakra, throat chakra, is blue. So both seems to be different, though they appear from this angle, they appear to be at the same level, but it is not. So what are the characteristics of point 5? Point 5 is air. Means the dominant element is air. But what you see is, all the 5 elements are present at each point. When I say air, it doesn't mean it's all air. Air is being a dominant element, whereas earth is present at every point. The effect of earth is there, fire is there, water is there, space is there. And dominant element here is air. We'll experience lightness, clarity, and intelligence at this point. Our mind, our moods, our emotions also keep on fluctuating. The air element manifests this confusion and illusion. As per the notes from Babuji, he says one is not kept at 0.5 more than couple of hours on the spiritual path. They are quickly moved to the higher point. Here, what happens is here, the daydreaming happens on this point. It is certain illusionary, it kind of creates some certain illusionary effects. Let's read it from Daji's notes. has qualities of lightness, clarity, and intelligence. Air is always in flux. We don't know which direction it is heading. In the same way, our mind, our moods, our emotions also keep fluctuating. At chakras 5, there can be a lot of illusion. When heaviness or emotional turbulence exists in the heart, the air element manifests this confusion and illusion. When confusion is present, it means we must pause and wait until the confusion has shifted and the heart is able to truly guide us with clarity. In our journey through the heart region, we purify all these feelings. Each one has its purpose, and we learn how to use them constructively for our onward evolution. Once we have traversed the chakras in the heart region, the journey then continues into higher and higher realms. To go further, the important quality we need is generosity. Generosity of the heart is able to drop the differences, the opposites, and is able to discern things with just right perspective. So transcending this heart region means going beyond the earthly plane of existence to the mind region, and finally beyond mind region to central region. So we'll explore this in our next session, the mind region. So I'll stop here and we can discuss any.
Shrikant, I have a question. Uh, when you attain higher stages, higher points, is it possible you fall back to lower points? And the reason I'm asking this is that I used to think that, spirituality is like a one-way road. At times, your progress is slower, but I didn't think that, there's a step back on the road. And the thing is that I read that Chatterjee said that he knew some people actually, they reached central region, but they fell since they thought that that was the destination. So based on this, I assume that you can always fall from a higher point to a lower point, correct?
So here is my theory, and the concept is, as we master, we move to the higher and higher points. But in heartfulness, it's we don't do it in one. It's not like a one way. We make this journey several times. Within the heart region, we do this journey several times itself before we move to the mind region. But after we move to the mind region, we come again through the heart region and go above. So we go back and forth many times as we master and master and master it, where we are free. We become very free. We can master that journey many times. So I don't want to really look at it in a sense of falling back. That's number one. And number two, let's say I have achieved a high region, I mastered it, I am very stabilized in that region. I continue to progress from there, but if it so happens that I can pull myself down, and those are extreme cases, but typically one normally going higher and higher, with the protection from a guide, we continue to remain in that state. And even like if you see, there are so many examples, like the people who have reached higher stages discontinued their practice. That means, did they fall back? It's a question. It's a questionable statement whether they fell back or not, because here the inner bonding with that essence becomes so strong. somehow we maintain that state. But there are always extreme cases either way. So those are extreme scenarios. We should not be making it as a general thing that we fall back because of something happened.
Thank you.
So this heart region you're talking about, right? Babuji puts it in his book as it's from head to toe.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the points. It seems like in the front of the body in the mid region.
Yeah.
So
Babuji's definition of heart as head to toe, not the heart region. If
And
I said heart region, then it's my mistake.
no, so the heart region, Pink Pradesh,
Yeah.
The process of cleaning helps with all the points?
Process of cleaning, a general cleaning helps with all the points.
Okay.
So when we are cleaning, the cleaning is happening where it is required, right?
Right.
Say my point 1 is clean already. When I'm doing the cleaning, where the cleaning should happen? On my point 2.
Right.
When my point 2 is clean, where the cleaning should happen? There's no need to do the cleaning again on point 2, right?
Right.
So that's why the cleaning we are doing, is helping all the points. And there is also a specific cleaning which the trainers and the master does as required. But as you as a practicant, when you are doing a general cleaning, it is affecting the overall.
So when we clean, also the acceptance and compassion and love develops. So that's kind of takes care of the chakras or knots.
When we master those knots, the qualities of those knots will come into our, become our character. So when we
Other way
master
around.
point 2, then I become more compassionate person.
So it's not other way around that we try to develop the quality of compassion or acceptance or courage, confidence.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of look at those noble qualities and then we say, okay, I mean, again, it's all the matter of will, right? If I want to develop those qualities, automatically I have to master the point 2.
Okay.
What is mastering point 2 really means? If I ask that question, all that it means is look at it this way: the mergence or oneness, when we talk about, happens at every point. Every point is as vast as our entire spiritual journey. Correct? So at every point, when we become one with it, when we merge into that state, full condition, then we say we mastered that point. So we become complete in oneness with that state. Here, point 1, though we are looking at as a point 1 as a location, but every point is a state. Certain qualities associated, condition associated with that point. When we completely merge in that condition, we say we mastered that state. So by continuous practice of meditation, cleaning helps us to become one with it, with the aid of transmission.
Gotcha. And how is the color correlate with the points? How does that come in picture?
Say that one more time.
The color, like the first point is a yellow and then the red and no color and so.
I mean, it's just the quality of that point observed by Babuji. and he gave his observation that, okay, this is the color I have observed at this point, when one completely matured into that point. And as we move upwards, from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, again 8, you'll only have 2 elements. So these colors really completely fade away. That means the earthly influence is completely eliminated after we reach 12th point.
So does that mean that we actually see those colors at that, in the deep meditative state at that point?
See, I mean, personally, I have not seen any colors so far, but there are a few individuals who, who are sensitive, who are very visual in nature, so they have a, more grasp on these colors.
Okay, and another question was around point D. So point A and B cleaning is done by us, but I have not seen anything about point D cleaning. So who and how does that happen? Point D cleaning.
In Maxim 10, I'm sorry, Maxim 10. What is the Maxim 10?
I guess so. Maxim 10 is addressing the guilt.
I think it's about prayer.
Yes, but
Maxim 10. So we right before our meditation, the bedtime prayer, we beg for forgiveness for all the mistakes, and we submit ourselves to the ultimate and say, Lord, please help me to move out of this. So the Maxim 10 sort of helps us to move over the guilt. If you see here, let me make it a little bigger. At bedtime, feeling the presence of God, repent for wrongs committed, beg forgiveness in a supplicant mood, resolve not to allow the repetition of the same. This takes care of our point D. Right?
okay.
So,
Thank you.
all these elements are designed in such a way in heartfulness to take care of every aspect of human nature, so that we can transform completely into the divine nature. Every aspect here helps. Okay. Does that answer your question, sister?
Yes, thank you.
We will cover all Maxim 10s, if time permits, in our future sessions. All right. Any other thoughts, comments?
So you really cleared out. I was so confused about the chakras and points and the heart region. Now you cleared it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister.
Shrikant, maybe I'm new to this one. I heard about so points A and B that you touched upon. Can you please?
Hello.
Yeah, yes, Shrikant.
Hey, sorry, Srinivas, we lost your voice.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
So you mentioned about points A and B. I don't think I'm, I'm because I'm new to this one. I don't know what they are. Can you please touch upon if time permits, or we can talk about it later?
No. So in fact, I've decided that in our next Saturday session, because we spoke about point A and B in this session, I will get into more details on point A and B in our next session.
Thank you, Shrikant.
All right. I thank you all, and thanks for your participation. And we will continue these discussions in our next session.
Thank you.
Saturday to be
Thank
back.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Brother
it.
Shrikant.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you if I can have a sitting.
Now, yeah.
No, no, whenever you have time.
Um, okay, I mean, I just forgot. I mean, there's someone coming to my place right now. I can,
Okay.
maybe we can do it like today evening about 8:30.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Just message me when you're ready, please.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.